Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to look at spot instances and spot fleets. Now we've been playing around with EC2 so far using on-demand instances. Spot instances basically allow you to take advantage of unused EC2 capacity in the cloud, and spot instances are available with up to a 90% discount compared to on-demand prices. And you can use spot instances for various stateless, fault-tolerant, or flexible applications such as big data, containerized workloads, CI/CD, web servers, high-performance computing, and other test and development workloads as well. So where can you use spot instances? The key word is with flexible applications. So if your application can be terminated with 1 or 2 minutes notice and then you start it up again when you get a better price, then that would be a great use case of spot instances. Where you don't want it is for your critical applications that need to stay online all the time. So the way spot instances work is you have a spot price and you basically decide on your maximum spot price, and the instance is going to be provisioned so long as the spot price is below your maximum spot price. So essentially it's kind of like the stock market in the way that it moves up and down, up and down, up and down. And so the hourly spot price is going to vary depending on the capacity and the region. And if the spot price goes above your maximum, you have 2 minutes to choose whether or not you should terminate your EC2 instance. Now you can prevent this using spot blocks. Spot blocks basically allow you to stop your spot instances from being terminated even if the spot price goes over your maximum spot price. And you can set spot blocks for between 1 to 6 hours currently. And so if you log into the AWS console, you can actually look at the pricing history of your spot instances. So here we've got the pricing history for a Linux instance using C5 large, and it's over 1 month. And you'll see that it's on a per region basis. You can see the on-demand price sits above 8 cents. And you can see for US East 1F, it hovers between 3 and 4 cents. But if you would to put in a bid on another availability zone, perhaps US East 1A, then you would even get a lower price, and it looks like it's just pretty consistently hovering above 3 cents. So you can go in and do your research based on past performance and then figure out what your spot price is based on that performance. So we covered this off a couple of slides ago, but we'll just go through it again. So spot instances are useful for the following tasks. So we've got big data and analytics. We've got containerized workloads. We've got CI and CD and testing. We've got web services. We've got image and media rendering, as well as high performance computing. So what is spot instances not good for? Well, it's not good for persistent workloads. It's not good for critical jobs, and it's not good for databases. So the way I like to think of spot instances is it's basically like standing on a rug that can be pulled out from under your feet at any point in time. So long as your application can cope with that, then spot instances are probably a good choice. If, however, you need persistent workloads, you've got critical jobs or databases running on your instances, then spot instances probably are not a good fit. So let's look at how we can terminate spot instances. And in order to understand how we do it, we first have to understand how spot instances work. So the first thing you do is you create a request. And your request will contain things like your maximum price, the desired number of instances, the launch specifications, so what type of EC2 instance, what type of AMI, etc. And then we have our request types. And we've got 2 different types of request types. We've got one time and we've got persistence. And we've also got our valid from and valid until. So these are date ranges. Now your request types work like this. If it's just one time, what you'll do is you set up your spot request. You have the number of instances, your maximum price, and assuming that the spot price is below your maximum price, then this request is going to be fulfilled. And then once the spot price goes above your maximum price, that's it, because it's one time, your instances will be terminated and you won't have any more instances. If you have it as a persistent request, what will happen is it will launch your instances. And then once your spot price goes above your maximum price, you're going to it's going to go through and stop those instances and terminate them. And as soon as the spot price goes below your maximum price, it's going to relaunch those instances. So if your spot request is persistent, it's going to go throughout this cycle. And that's essentially what we've got in here. We create our request, it's open, and then it can either failed, it could be cancelled, or it could be active. And if it's active, we've got persistent or we've got one time. If it's just one time, it's just going to launch these instances one time, and as soon as the spot price goes above your maximum price, it's closed off, so you no longer have a spot request open. But if it's persistent, it's just going to be disabled, and then it's going to come all the way back to here as an open request, and then once the spot price goes below your maximum price, then it's going to relaunch those instances. And you can get this diagram from this link, which goes into more detail about it from the AWS website. So now that we've covered off spot instances, let's have a look at spot fleets. And a spot fleet is just a collection of spot instances and, optionally, on-demand instances. So you can have on-demand instances inside your spot fleets. And essentially what happens is the spot fleet attempts to launch the number of spot instances and on-demand instances to meet the target capacity that you specified in the spot fleet request. So maybe you need a minimum number of servers, and it's going to try and do this through spot instances, but it might not have enough capacity to do that. It will then also launch on-demand instances as well. And of course, the request for spot instances is fulfilled if there's available capacity, and if the maximum price that you specified in the request exceeds the current spot price. So long as the spot price is below your maximum spot price, then it's going to launch spot instances. And the spot fleet also attempts to maintain its target capacity fleet if your spot instances are interrupted. So it will relaunch those instances. So spot fleets will try and match the target capacity with your price restraints. And you can go ahead and set up different launch pools and define things like your EC2 instance type, your operating system, and which availability zone that you want in there. And you can also have multiple pools, and the fleet will choose the best way to implement depending on the strategy that you'll define. And we'll have a look at the strategies in a second. And then the spot fleets will stop launching instances once you reach your price threshold or your capacity desire. So let's have a look at the different strategies that you can have with spot fleets. So you can have capacity optimized. This is where the spot instances comes from the pool with optimal capacity for the number of instances launching. So you're basically guaranteeing that you have a certain amount of capacity. You could have a strategy that's lowest price, and this is where the spot instances come from the pool with the lowest price, and that's the default strategy. You can have diversified, and this is where you're going to basically have your spot instances distributed across all your different pools that you define. And then we have instant pools to use count. And this is where the spot instances are distributed across the number of spot instance pools that you specify. And the parameter is only valid when used in combination with the lowest price. So this is kind of like a combination of diversified with lowest price, but with diversified, it's using all the pools. With instance pools to use count, you define which pools that you want. It will launch in those pools at the lowest price. So onto my exam tips. So spot instances can save you up to 90% of on-demand instances. It's useful for any type of computing where you don't need persistent storage, so ephemeral computing, for example. You can block spot instances from terminating by using spot block. And then a spot fleet is a collection of spot instances and optionally on-demand instances. So that is it for this lecture, everyone. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.